Zeca Marques, from the head coach of Moroka Swallows, great character himself, jacket throwing, pulling out all the stops every week for the birds, the Soweto birds. Zeca, unfortunately, our programme is dominated by the death of a man called Sheikh Kangwani. Have you got any particular thoughts on Sheikh, Zeca, that we could start off with, just to deal with that?
Yeah, good morning, Neal. Good morning to you and your listeners.
All right, mate.
Yeah, look, it was a tremendous shock that I got the news of our great friend Sheikh's passing on. I mean, I'd seen him last week. You see him on TV, you think things are going well with people, and all of a sudden he's no longer with us. But the fond memories I have of him is, and I think most of us will share this, is his sense of humor, and such a jovial guy at any given time. I've never seen Sheikh's bad-mouthing anyone. He was such a jovial guy. And then obviously the good memories of when he was a soccer player himself. I mean, I think he's a little bit younger than me, but seeing him on the field playing for Kaizer Chiefs, entertaining us, that's how I remember him. And then obviously lately on TV, just overall he was a package, as a footballer, as a commentator, and as a human being. So the interaction that I had with Sheikhs, and every time we bumped into each other, was always with laughter and jokes.
Yeah, exactly, mate. That's how everyone remembers him. And sure, it's difficult, isn't it, in football, Zeca? You and I have both been around for quite a while. He was 43. How old are you now?
I'm a young 25.
Yeah, you're 25. I'm 53, mate. I'm 10 years older than. And when that news came through last night, the final confirmation, you all kind of thought, blimey, this can't be right. This must be another one of those Twitter things where everyone kind of jumps to the wrong conclusion. But there it was, mate. Pretty sad for all of us.
Very sad. You talk about people, and then, I keep reminding people that sometimes life is so short. It's a split second, and you're no longer there. And that's what happens. You see a person, and then one day he's gone. It's just amazing. Really a shock, because I've known him in the football industry, and so, yeah, I think it's another one of those football stories that sometimes you don't want to hear, but we have to face.
Yeah, I'm going to try and drag the show away for a while. We'll be going back on. Kaiser Jr. Will speak to us just after 10 o'clock. But for now, Zeca, it's been a tough season at Moroka Swallows. But like all the other head coaches in South Africa, I would imagine that, from the early part of next month, you'll be able to turn your minds like the rest of us to a quite fascinating World Cup in Brazil, even though Bafana aren't there. Now, as I understand it, and I remember playing against you, you were a left back, I was a left back. You were Portuguese, you've got some Portuguese in you, haven't you? Quite a lot of it.
Yeah, very much so.
And I noticed this.
Fact,
yeah, go on. Good. Yeah, matter of fact.
In actual fact, I'll be going to Portugal tonight as I'm speaking to you on a UEFA coaches seminar, but it's held in Portugal, so I'll be going there, so it makes my life easy.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, how long are you there for?
10 days.
You're there for 10 days?
Some pastéis nata and, all the good Portuguese foods.
Yeah, no, mate, I've been to Portugal a couple of times. Guys, for South African listeners, Portugal is a wonderful place. The British invade the Algarve every summer, and along with many other nationalities, because it's such a beautiful place to holiday, such great water parks, such great tourist resorts. But obviously Portugal has a lot more than that to offer the world, and a fascinating culture based on on Africa and Europe. That's what's so interesting. There's a Lagos in Portugal for Nigerian guys, and it's a fascinating country. But if you're there for 10 days, you're just going to miss the kickoff of the World Cup on June the 12th when Brazil play Croatia, aren't you?
I'm back on the 12th.
On the 12th.
Actually, I'm back 12th right in the morning, so I'll be back for that day.
But I did notice, Zeca, I need to say this as a part Englishman or a mostly Englishman, that Portugal have somehow snuck into the third in the FIFA World Rankings, even though they've only got one player called Cristiano Ronaldo. How have you managed to do this?
With Cristiano.
You
take him out the equation, and we really are an average team. But with Cristiano on board, it's the X factor. He is our X factor. And I think that Portugal as a team are solid. Without Ronaldo, we lose that X factor.
Let's just explain to people. In Group G, in Brazil, next month, Germany, Ghana, and the United States of America will be Portugal's rivals. The top two going through to the last 16. And to be honest, Portugal with that world ranking of 3, Germany second, Ghana Africa's second best side, 38th in the world. And of course, the USA are sneaky. I wrote them all down this morning. USA are sneaky 14th in the world rankings, better than any African side. Ivory Coast are 21st. That's a tough old group, isn't it? Germany, Portugal, Ghana, USA. Are you going to be all right, Portugal?
No, it's a tricky one, and Portugal's first match is against Germany, which I think is a good start for us, because that result will determine maybe the rest of the group. And Portugal needs to play against a good team in the beginning, to avoid complacency. It's happened in the past where your first game is an easy game, you get complacent, you lose the game, and you're on the back foot for the second game. So I think playing Germany the first game is a good opener for us, because our players will start with a maximum concentration. That's
right. That's June the 16th. There's a 1 o'clock kickoff there. I think that's about 5 o'clock our time. Germany, Portugal, massive game. And the reason I'm happy to focus on Portugal as one of South Africa's World Cup favourites is because as an Englishman in 2010, I went with a lad called Lionel, the local shop owner in Centurion, and we went from Roodepoort all the way around the back road to Magaliesburg the day that Portugal arrived in South Africa for their World Cup tournament.
Yeah, I was there. It was chaos.
You would have been one of the many Portuguese people. All my life, as a youngster in South Africa, I played football with Portuguese guys at a place called Berea Park in Pretoria. The De Canhas, the Nuneses, the Gomezes. And they were the toughest and hardest footballers you ever came across at that point in my life. Obviously there was apartheid then, and the occasions when we would go into the township, we'd have mostly Portuguese lads. They were massive on football. And you know that. I mean, that's your background, that's your life. But that day, driving all the way around that back road to Magaliesburg, to a resort there where the Portuguese were staying. Cristiano was in room number 7. I've stayed there since the World Cup with my missus. Lovely little resort. But do you remember that day? How many Portuguese flags did we see? We had to have mounted policemen at the gate of that little, what's it called, Baca Technical School, where Portugal were training, because there were so many people who live all their lives in South Africa, but they've got that Portuguese flag in the closet somewhere, and they're ready to come out and support their team. That's why I'm interested, Zeca, in your take on Portugal's World Cup hopes.
I'll tell you the feedback that I had from that day. The Portuguese national team were not expecting the turnout.
No.
They had no expectation on the numbers. They knew there would be a few Portuguese there, but they had no idea on the numbers. For them, it was as if they were still in Portugal. That's how many Portuguese people were there, and that's how many flags were flying around. And it was obviously a touching moment for them, because here they are in Africa, out in what we'd call in South Africa, out in the Bundes. Yeah. That's what, it's out there, out in the country. And all these Portuguese flags flying high. And it was a great emotional moment for the players and everyone involved. But going forward to the Brazilian World Cup, it's also special for us because of the relationship we have with Brazil.
Yes.
So it's going to be an interesting World Cup for Portugal. I know they've got some tricky cities to visit. Manaus is one of them. I think it's the most difficult trip for all the teams that are going there. I think England are also going out there.
Yes, they
Manaus.
are. Yeah.
So it's really a difficult city. But I think the Portuguese team is looking forward to this game, or to the World Cup, because of the support that they'll get. As you know, the Portuguese are in numbers in Brazil. I think more than in South Africa by far.
Yeah.
So again, it's a home away from home scenario for Portugal.
No, I absolutely agree with you. But would we be mad to put money on Portugal getting through Group G against Germany, Ghana, and the USA, or is it about evens? Would you say, to get in the top two?
I think you can put money on Portugal going through. As I said, the first game will dictate. If they lose, well, then they're on the back foot, because the USA is a very difficult team, and you can never write Ghana off. At this moment, Ghana can stand up to Portugal on any day. Portugal really has to be at their best for all three games. So it's a really difficult encounter. The scary part for Portugal at this stage is that Ronaldo, and we all saw in the final of the Champions League, wasn't physically in good condition.
No.
So the guys are racing to get him back to good physical condition, get him fit, so that he can focus on starting off the World Cup on a good footing. We've still got some time. I think there's still 3 weeks, literally. So time is on our side at the moment. But difficult. Without Ronaldo, Portugal will battle.
I know, and that's what worries me, is that towards the tight end of the season at Real Madrid, when they didn't play Ronaldo, that's when they lost the points that left them adrift of Atletico and Barcelona in the league, when at one point they looked like favourites. And then they made him play in that Champions League final, because without him, Real Madrid just aren't the same, are they? I know he only got a penalty in the final, but he did break the record, four goals in the Champions League. The all-time record, I think he got to 17, didn't he, with that penalty? And even though Gareth Bale, obviously, Wales not in the World Cup, but Gareth Bale, for me, scored the vital goal. But we're looking at a situation where in Group G, a lot of people in Africa will be hoping, like in the World Cup in South Africa, that Ghana will do the unthinkable and get through to the quarterfinals. Ivory Coast or Ghana would be our two best hopes of that. Ghana, of course, sticking 6 past Egypt in their playoff. Have to be a side that you have to watch out for. Are there? I mean, Zeca, you're a South African coach. Something of a legend in this country for your enthusiasm and your attitude towards football. Is there someone else that apart from Portugal, that we should be looking at in this World Cup? I mean, obviously, I was asked several times this week by Australians and people who I support for the World Cup, and I'm saying Brazil have to be, on home soil, the best there is. There's never been a European winner of a World Cup in Latin America since the tournament began. So I'm kind of looking Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and obviously England in the final. But is there anyone else that you'd pick out? I was joking. Is there anyone else you'd pick out for us?
I'm quietly very confident on Belgium. Not winning the World Cup, but having a great World Cup. Yeah, I think they could be outsiders in this World Cup. They've got a great squad. The guys are all on top form. And I could see Belgium maybe going through to the semis.
Absolutely.
If they get to act together, in my opinion, they could be the outsiders in this thing, going at least to the semi-finals. Because once you get to the semi-finals, anything's possible. But I'm putting some money on Belgium. Yeah,
Belgium to get to the semi-finals is your kind of great outside bet that 4 years ago you wouldn't have considered it, although those youngsters have been coming through there from Vincent Kompany, not so much a youngster in your Lukaku, Mignolet having such a good season in goal for Liverpool, even though he's not number one for Belgium. They're now ranked 12th in the world, one behind England. I think it should be definitely the other way round. We love the Belgians. What I also love about them is that just about half their players have got roots in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which was once a Belgian kind of colony. And I love the way that the two cultures have come together to produce this excellent, golden generation of Belgian players. And absolutely right that we're all looking at Belgium to produce that kind of, blimey, Belgium. They were so boring. The only thing we know about them is that I think they invented the potato chip. And what's his name? Poirot, the detective. But here's Belgium with a great side. In their group, of course, another African hub, Algeria. The Russians, who we know have a lot of money in their game and a lot of top stars, but not quite sure that they can produce it, of all places, in Brazil, in what will be a warm country. And then the South Koreans, who Carlos Queiroz and Iran saw off in their qualifying group. But I think that's probably the easiest Group H in the whole World Cup. Belgium, Algeria, Russia, and South Korea. Belgium should easily make it.
Yeah, and this is the reason. One of the reasons why I'm putting them, because you go through. I'm not sure who they play afterwards, but all of a sudden you find yourself with a win, and you're right there. So and they'll just build momentum. And as you said, this talent, this fusion of African and European has brought some excitement into the Belgian football. Has brought some creativity. Has brought some explosiveness into the game. So they're very unpredictable at the moment. And you spoke about a boring game, boring in the past. Those days are over. Now they play an exciting brand of football, and they score goals. And once you've got that fusion and you've got that chemistry, anything can happen.
Brilliant, Zeca. It's been great talking to you. I know that we should also talk about Moroka Swallows. I know that we can't. I don't want to put you on the spot here because there's things going on at the moment. But obviously, Volkswagen dropping out of your sponsorship. You've got a lovely stadium in Dobsonville. The Swai or the Birds, the Dubé Birds as we call them, are one of the great traditions of South African football. Can I just ask you, are there exciting times ahead, or do we have to worry about Moroka Swallows? Can you just give us a clue as to the future?
Well, I can give you a little insight here. Yeah. There are exciting times for Swallows. There's a new Swallows on the horizon. Things are changing. And I think going forward, Swallows will be a club to be reckoned with, and we want to start competing mano a mano with all the big teams here. We are an historical club. We deserve our place in this league and to be respected, but we've got to do it from ourselves. So, and I think we've started that step.
Good, and that's what I want to hear because, okay, I'm an outsider, right? I know a few things about South African football that maybe the average fan doesn't know, but I think that for Morocco Swallows last season, it's probably the toughest season you could ever come across in terms of, having lost.
Tough is an understatement.
Yeah.
Tough is an understatement.
I think a lot of people missed that fact. Early in the season, I phoned you, and you guys were actually doing really well, better than expected. Yeah. But to survive in this PSL with a restricted budget, with things in the background, it was actually a very, very difficult season for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, very difficult. And that's why we're working hard now so that this doesn't repeat itself again. Yeah. Not only for our sake, but for the supporters. We've got some loyal supporters, some diehards, guys who live the game on a daily basis, and we owe it to them. We've got to respect the consumer, and the consumer are the supporters. And as I said, the guys have been loyal throughout these years. No one deserves to be living under stress, because the guys really care about the club. So we're working hard behind the scenes so that we don't repeat the same things over as we did this season. This season was a nightmare, but we've got to move on now.
Absolutely right, Zeca. Now, in your career, you've seen the PSL writhe and wriggle and kingdoms come and go. But having seen Masandawana, the Mamelodi Sundowns, come and take it away from Soweto after 3 years of Orlando Pirates and then Kaizer Chiefs, can anyone compete next season with Pitso Mosimane and his massive Patrice Motsepe budget? Can anyone seriously hope to take on Mamelodi Sundowns and all their players and all the players they've got loaned out around the country?
Look, it's always difficult to compete against teams with budgets. But I think we must start moving away from the budget. I think we need to start thinking about signing and being clever on signing players. And there are a lot of examples in the world where clubs compete equally with the big budget clubs, but the difference is signing clever, making intelligent signings. This is where the crucial part comes in. And that doesn't happen overnight. You've got to have a plan in place. I'm trying to implement this plan at Swallows now. You've got to work on a 3-year cycle where you sign players a little bit younger, identify the next group of players, identify players that fit within your culture, that fit within your philosophy. And if you can do that, then you can compete, because at the end of the day, the budget only goes so far, and the play is the guy who plays on the field. Because if you can compete to that on the field, then you'll be able to do some damage.
So, Zeca, put me right here. In the South African winter, it was a man called Trevor Phillips that moved South African professional football to the summer. In the South African winter, is that when your juniors are all out there playing and bashing the ball around, in the dry, high-felt climate?
Yeah.
So will you be spending a lot of the summer kind of going around and finding those youngsters and trying to make those key signings that other clubs, for all their money, can't beat you to?
Neal, it's difficult. As much as people say you've got to keep looking at youth, and I'll tell you why it's difficult. The biggest problem we have in South Africa is development. Okay?
Yeah, agreed.
And a lot of the guys have got talent. Talent alone to play in the PSL in the current stage of football that we are in the professional era is just not good enough anymore.
Yeah.
And the guys need to know that to be a soccer player, you need to be a professional. And a professional means that you have to know what you do as a soccer player. You've got to live football on the field, off the field. Your technical ability is going to be almost perfect. You've got to know your positions. You've got to know, you know what, football is a trade. It's a profession.
Absolutely.
And the sad part about this is that the youngsters come to have talent but lack the rest, which is the most important part of modern football. So it's difficult to go out there, identify the talent, bring them into the PSL, and try and coach them. They've missed certain blocks in their development career that you can't fill up again. You cannot go back and say, right, he was supposed to know this at 15, he's now 25. He will never learn that. Never, it's gone. So that's the challenge. So the development part has to be improved before we can go out there and identify the proper talent. When you talk about proper talent, it's a package. It's the overall player as a professional guy. And this is a difficult part for us as coaches. We see talent. I see them coming down to me and training on occasion, Neal. And you know what? You can see the talent, but it doesn't go past that. And as professional guys, we haven't got time to stand there and coach a kid or a 23-year-old or 24-year-old on how to tap a ball, how to chip a ball, how to hit a ball. We haven't got time for that. That was supposed to be done when he was 12.
Exactly, and that's why I'm asking, Yeah, I know that the Kaiser Chiefs and Orlando Pirates academies have had trouble, but Sundowns have got this massive academy, Johan Cruyff behind it. What's your academy like at Swallows?
Look, it's going through a bit of a reform now. We have to change the concept, address the shortfalls, and I think as I put a proposal already that I would like to see things changing. We need to work with a different dynamic with the academy. The philosophy of coaching is going to be different there. So there's lots of things that have to be addressed at the academy. But it's, there's produced talent in the past, but at the moment it's not coming through, so something is not right. So that's what we have to fix.
Exactly, and I hear this from a lot of different coaches. I know Stuart Baxter desperately trying to restructure things at Chiefs. I looked at Supersport United with Kevin Johnson, fielding quite a lot of quite young players in their side, but getting no credit for it. All that matters is where you finish in the PSL. The top head coaches like yourself get no credit for playing youngsters in the team, especially if they haven't been kind of groomed properly in the junior levels. Yep. So it's a no-win situation. So we don't play youngsters, so we don't have a young Bafana set up. We don't have development.
Well, this is it. It really is a catch-22 situation, because if the youth are not coming through, and this is why you see a lot of coaches not taking the risks. They go with more senior and more tried and tested players. Yeah. Guys who've got the experience, they'll rather go with them, and that's why you still see a lot of players at the age of 32, 34, 35 playing.
They're the safe option.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The safe option. You know what you're going to get from this guy.
Yeah.
You're taking the risk playing a 21-year-old who's never been developed.
Exactly. Zeca Marques, it's been brilliant talking to you. Everything from the World Cup to Moroka Swallows to our problem with youngsters in this country. The best of luck next season. The best of luck with whatever happens at Moroka Swallows. I know things are happening and it'll be exciting. When that does happen, I will be phoning you. Thanks, Zeca.
Thanks. Thank you, Neal.
Cheers, mate. And thanks for talking to us.
Bye. Thanks, Neal. Cheers.
Balls.co.za